Hey guys, this is Comic Uno, and today I'm doing a review for Daredevil Season 2. Finally, it's been like a week since I've been able to review the whole season. I actually just finished the season today, so it just took me a little while, just time-wise, to finish the season. But let's start talking about Season 2. What was it all about? So obviously spoilers in this review if you haven't seen the season. I'm going to have a full overview of what the show was about. So here we get to see the introduction of Elektra and Punisher and seeing their backstories. Elektra being very connected to the Hand, learning more about the Hand and who they are and why they want Elektra. You have characters like Stick returning because of her origin, and you see this romance between Matt and Elektra build throughout the whole season, and wonder why Matt would like Elektra. You kind of figure out, why they like each other. So that's kind of their side of the story. But then I would say the bigger story, at least for the first half of the season, was Punisher. Finding out his background story of why he's a vigilante, but why he crosses the line. A big theme in this season is what it means to be a hero, or what it means to be a vigilante. And you see Matt, he's right on the line. He never crosses it. But Punisher is a hero that does cross the line. And now New York is kind of judging him for that. Even though Karen, who actually has a big part in this season, sees the Punisher in a different way and sees these vigilantes in a different way. Now this brings up the big court case in this season, which actually brings Foggy to have more story, where you find out if Punisher is going to go to jail, or even if he's going to get the death sentence. So that's kind of a big part of the season. But by the end, the big battle is mostly with the Hand, and the big thing that happens here is that Elektra dies. Yeah, she says her goodbye, but by the cliffhanger of the episode, of the final episode, they're like, yeah, she'll be back. And you can see that the Hand is obviously not disappearing, because the Hand is one of Daredevil's biggest villains. So, that's going to be coming back whenever they do have Season 3. I'm sure the show will have a Season 3, but it's all dependent on what's going on with the Defenders. So what do I think of this season overall? Now, going into the season, I will say I was most excited to see Elektra. That was the character I was really excited to watch, because I just wanted to see more female heroes in this universe. I am an Elektra fan. I'm not really an old Daredevil Elektra fan, but more for modern stuff. And I'm gonna start with her and say I was a little disappointed with Elektra. Now, I know this character, the one they portray here, is very much like her older portrayal of the character. But I always like the modern portrayal of her a bit more, of seeing her tragedy, or this rich girl have tragedy, and mostly it had to do with her father, and have that tragedy, and then that's why she becomes Elektra. Here, when they start the season, it was really hard to connect to Elektra. Yes, she was badass. There's some awesome action, which I'll also add that this season had much better action than last season. And last season had some pretty cool cinematography with action, and they did really good cinematography in this season, but they also diversified the action, which I really liked. But going back to Elektra, I remember when she was first introduced into the season, it was her kind of being like a spoiled person, it felt like. It's like, hey, I'm rich and I'm bored, so I'll kill people. And even though they kind of redeem it by the end of the season, where we get to see her flashbacks and why she's doing the stuff she's doing, I never thought that made up for her motivation of why she wanted to be Elektra. And that was my biggest problem with her. And I'm hoping if she does have another season, they will, or even a show, maybe that would redeem herself a bit more. I hope they can redeem her motivation, because that's why I could never connect to the character, and a lot of times I felt she was two-dimensional because of it. She's like, alright, she's in love with Matt, and she is this key to the Hand. But I never felt the motivation. She's like, she just wanted to kill, and I think it's because she was pretty much a plot device in the season. So I was pretty disappointed with Elektra. Again, she got better by the end of the season, but she never met my expectations. Moving on to a character that I was not expecting anything with, because I've never been a fan of this character, and that was Punisher. But he is the best part of the show. I really enjoyed Punisher in this series, and that was the character that actually made me tear up. The cemetery scene was heartbreaking, and it was a character that had a good background story and good motivations. What I loved about season 1 of Daredevil was how you could care about Kingpin, and he's the villain. And here for Punisher, he's an anti-hero. It's like, why should I care about him? And you totally care for him. But going to kind of the problems of Punisher was I felt like his story just sizzled away by the end. It had such good build-up, but once his kind of story was up by, I guess, the last 4 episodes, he was just kind of there, and he didn't do much. And I think they could have balanced the Hand story and Punisher story a lot better in the show than they did. So, but I thought the best part, again, was the Punisher, was the case, and going into the second best part, which was Karen. Yeah, a character that I don't think they fleshed out enough in season 1. They made it really obscure. Her ending is like, oh, what's that cliffhanger about of like her past? And they kind of still make it obscure here. But I love, her search for truth, and that she is totally different than, a lawyer, because we get to see that a lawyer, they're able to twist the truth. And with Karen, she just wants to find the truth. So she ends up becoming a journalist because of that. And I like that she's the one who really wants to save the Punisher, and is really the one who's able to talk to the Punisher because of it. So I really enjoyed that portion of the story, and I'm glad that they fleshed out Karen more. And then Foggy, I think he was more of a neutral character. I do think they built up his character more this season, but I hated that they still didn't have the friendship with Foggy and Matt. It's 2 seasons already, and they still have this strained friendship, which I didn't love. Hopefully next season we'll see the Foggy and Matt that I more enjoy, which is their friendship, but they really didn't interact that much this season, which was disappointing. So moving on to the last part, which is actually Matt. But I guess I could talk about the villains too. Let me talk about the villains, then I'll get into Matt. But yeah, the villains, the Hand, I think they were really good with action. I really liked their action portions. Didn't really love their motivation half the time, but I think it was just kind of cool to see the Hand. And then the surprise character, or there's a couple of surprise characters, but mostly Fisk. Love seeing him back, and I thought his episodes were really entertaining, and a good sequel to his season. Claire is just amazing. I think she's a great character. And it's cool to see the lawyer from Jessica Jones. I thought that was an awesome little cameo there. It was more than a cameo, but that was like towards the last couple of episodes, or maybe the last episode. So I thought that was kind of cool. The mentions of Jessica Jones was really awesome, because I'm a big Jessica Jones fan, so that was really cool. But yeah, going into Matt, Matt was okay. And it's weird to say that, because this is his show, and half the time it was just like him following people. It's like, alright, I'm Daredevil, but I'm actually part of Elektra's story. Alright, I'm Daredevil, but I'm really just here for Punisher. So it's kind of weird that this season's mostly it should have been called Elektra and Punisher, because it wasn't really a Daredevil show. It of course was in the point of view of Matt Murdock, but he was mostly Daredevil and teaming up again with Elektra. That was mostly his story. And it wasn't a lot of Matt Murdock in this season, because he's like, well, I gotta be Daredevil, and it made him kind of unlikable in this season, because he just kind of canceled himself out from his life. And now I actually, something I know is that Daredevil does this a lot. That is part of his character. But for a whole season to do that kind of bugged me. But overall, just to say for the season, I had a lot of enjoyment with it. Like I said, I'm more of a Jessica Jones fan. I've never been a huge Daredevil fan character-wise, but I liked the season. I did like season 1 a little bit more, but definitely has a lot of promise for the future. And I couldn't get to 4 stars, but I did get to 3.9 stars for season 2. So hopefully you guys enjoyed. This is Comic You Know. Don't forget to follow me on Twitter. Don't forget to like my Facebook page. Also, description below, there are links for my comic book, Like Father, Like Daughter. And don't forget to like the Facebook page of Like Father, Like Daughter. I'll see you guys later.